The new Urzikstan map has officially released for all platforms and is now live. In today's video, I'll show you guys exactly the best graphic settings you guys can use on console to make the game look way better. We're gonna go over some in-game settings as well as some things you guys can do outside the game to make it look much better, more colorful, and sharper. And if you guys are dealing with any textures not loading issues, we're gonna cover that as well in today's video. So with that being said, if you guys do enjoy the video for today and learn something new, make sure you guys drop a like and subscribe to the channel. And as always, if you guys have any questions for any topics of today's video, make sure you guys comment them down below and I'll try to touch back with all of you guys as soon as I can. With that being said, let's hop straight into the settings. Alrighty guys, here we are in the settings. Now I do want to mention that I am currently recording on my computer, so you guys aren't going to see an FPS counter or some of the settings that are in the quality section, but you guys will see a upscaling / sharpening setting, and you guys can choose Fidelity FX. I highly recommend it. This is going to give you the sharpest appearance for the game. It's going to make all those edges and corners and guns look very sharp so you can see enemies much easier. You have a couple of options on console, but I highly recommend you guys use Fidelity FAX, or not FAX, CAS, and you guys can go ahead and turn this to about 50 strength. It should default be on 50, but in case it's not, go ahead and make sure it's that. You don't want to have it too high because this is going to put a bit of demand on your console. Now if you guys are on an older gen console like PS4 or Xbox, I recommend you guys go ahead and turn this maybe down to like 30. But if you guys are on PS5, 50 should be perfectly fine, maybe even like 60. You don't really want to go too high over 60 because that's when you're going to start seeing a lot of hitches and performance issues. Now you guys can leave depth of field on or off, depends on whatever you guys like. I like it on because it's going to make everything else around you sort of blurry. So if someone kind of comes up to you and sneaks up on you, it can be kind of hard to identify that object. So I leave mine off. And also something I highly recommend you guys turn off is your on-demand texture streaming. I talk about this every single year. Every time they turn or release a new Warzone map, they are always messing something up with this setting, and this has been going on since Vanguard. This is responsible for all of your textures not loading issues. If you guys have this on, which by the way, they do automatically turn this on for Warzone. If you guys are new, this will by default be on. Make sure it's off. What it does is it uses your bandwidth and internet to load textures instead of your hard drive, which could be beneficial if it actually worked properly. It doesn't work at all. I have pretty good internet and it still does not load textures and buildings fast enough, so you'll run around the map. You know, it feels like you're playing Roblox and you really can't see any buildings. But those right there are the quality settings that I want to make sure every console player knows, because these are the ones that are going to basically mess up the game the most. These are responsible for a lot of issues. So make sure both of these are set to off. And moving over to the field of view area. Now I'm going to make a separate video on this later because there is some funkiness going on with the actual field of view. But as of right now, if you guys play on an old gen console, you guys might want to use 105 to 110. If you guys are on new gen, you guys can go ahead and bump it up to 120. I've tested this out both on my PS5 and PlayStation 4, and I've basically seen no issues as long as you're running what I just said. So nothing too much higher than 105 on old gen, maybe 110, and then for new gen, you're perfectly fine to choose whatever field of view you want. I didn't notice any problems. Make sure you guys have your ADS field of view on affected. This makes it very good for actually having less recoil. This is one of the issues that we had back in the day when console didn't have FOV, and we didn't have affected FOV either, so it had a lot of weapon bounce for us. But now you guys can actually turn this on and have basically no recoil. I also recommend you guys go ahead and turn world motion blur and weapon motion blur off. You guys can leave them on if you want to, but I like them off. And you guys can go ahead and set your film grain to 0. This is going to remove that grainiest noise that's on the screen, and it's very annoying, and I don't really like it. So if you guys do like that, you guys can leave it on, but I really do not like it, so I turn it all the way off. Bonus tip, you guys can turn on your inverted flashbang if you guys don't like your screen turning completely white whenever you get flashed. So you guys can make it go dark. It can be a lot easier on your eyes. Alright, now in your brightness area of your settings, you guys want to go ahead and set your brightness to around 50. The barely visible should be barely visible, and the easily visible should be easily visible. The not visible should obviously not be visible, and if you guys have all these set properly, the game is not going to look washed. A lot of people I noticed, they'll turn the brightness all the way up and make the barely visible extremely visible. And the problem with that is that the game looks very washed and it's hard to really, see certain objects because all of the colors mash together. I'm telling you guys right now, if you're having a problem seeing things in Call of Duty, brightness is not going to fix anything. It's just going to make everything brighter, including the things that are bright as well. So honestly, you guys should just leave this at a default number. Like I said, maybe like 40-ish, 50. And I really recommend you guys do not turn that up or too low either. So the last area we're going to hit up is the interface. Now we have a couple options here. Before we go into color customization, I do want to let you guys know, I recommend you guys run a square minimap shape. This is going to help you guys see more on the map because you get those extra corners, if you guys can see on the right, instead of a circle. So if you guys don't already have a square, I recommend you guys go ahead and turn that on and make sure your minimap rotation is on. This should be on by default, but some of you guys might have turned it off. I do recommend you guys go ahead and set a stable crosshair, or not crosshair, but center dot, which you're going to see a little bit lower. There it is. Under crosshair, you guys can see center dot. And this is basically going to make a static dot in the middle of your screen no matter what. This is going to be here when you don't have a weapon, when you have your fists out, if you guys are trying to center properly and actually have a good idea of where your reticle is going to be at before you ADS. I highly recommend you guys turn this on. Now I have mine on and I have my scale on default if you guys are wondering what I run. A lot of you guys in the other videos were confused on how I had a dot in the middle of my screen, so this is how. Now moving up to the color customization screen, this is a really cool addition that they've added, and you can actually change the color palette in the game as well as some other color filter settings for the entire map. So if you guys do want to make your enemies or your teammates even more vibrant, you guys can change the color within these settings. So enemy is obviously red. I've made mine a more, deeper red because I think originally it's one of these more washed reds. So I made it a better red and it's a lot easier to see. I am purple. You guys know my logo. I like purple, so I made myself purple. And the rest of this is all the same. You guys can change this to whatever you want. If you guys are colorblind, you guys can use colors that you can actually see, and this can be very, very useful. Now for the color filter settings in the game, this is what's going to actually make the game look better and actually make a difference. I recommend you guys use color filter 2. You guys actually have a choice of 3 filters, and then you have none as well. I use color filter 2, and it makes the game more vibrant in my opinion. It doesn't make it a huge difference, but it's pretty good. And if you guys are trying to get a boost of color, this is a great filter to choose. Now under filter target, make sure you guys set it to world and not to interface. Interface is going to make it to where it affects what you're looking at right now, like all of these colors on your screen, your settings, your lobby screen. You don't want to affect that. You only want to affect the world unless you're actually colorblind. If you are actually colorblind, you might want to set it to both. And then color intensity, this is going to actually choose how strong you want the color filter settings to be applied to the game. You can set it to 100 or 75. 75 is default. I've set mine to 100 to get more color. It's up to you guys. I enjoy having a lot of color, and that's one thing about me. You guys might not like that much color, so you guys can set it to something different, but I like 100. And that's basically all the settings under color customization, and that's basically all the settings for the game. So that's all I have for you guys in today's video. I will be making another video very shortly, probably within the next couple of days, going over other ways you guys can make the game look much better, talking about TV settings, monitor settings, whatever you guys might play on. We can really go into depth on the contrast and color of the game, and a lot of guys are actually asking me how I set this up, so I'll make sure I cover that very shortly here. But I know a lot of you guys probably don't care that much to go into your TV settings. You guys want a way to make the game look better within the game, so I decided to basically separate these two videos. If you guys are curious on how to set that up, make sure you guys stay tuned to the channel, and I'll also be making a lot more videos on FOV and what I think is the best FOV to run on all consoles right now. And we're going to be going over a lot of the lag issues and frame hitches that the game has been having. I've actually found a couple of fixes for this, but there is some issues if you guys aren't applying these. But with that being said, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace, love, and understanding always.